Okay, so today we continue the topic of secret societies. Last class, we discussed how they come into power. Today, we will look at where they come from and what they believe. Okay? So to understand secret societies, I first need to explain to you the history of religion in the Western world. So in the Western world, there have been three major stages of religious development. And again, I will oversimplify for the purpose of clarity. Okay, so this is a simplified version of the history. So the three major stages of religious development in the Western world are the mother goddess, polytheism, and monotheism. Polytheism means many gods. You believe in many gods. Monotheism means one God, that only one God exists. So the mother goddess civilization came about because of agriculture. And in an agricultural world, you have two problems. The first problem is to make sure that your crops are healthy and you can harvest them in time. The second problem is to give birth, to have as many children as possible to work the fields. Okay, so these are the two problems. And because of that, a religion developed in order to facilitate both, called the mother goddess civilization. So at the center of this religion is the womb. The woman's womb is considered a divine portal from the spirit world into our world. It's almost like a cave, right? In which the spirit world can come out and manifest itself in our world. So the center of this religion is the womb of the woman. And as such, the women are in control. What's really important is to understand that in this world, everything is interconnected, harmonized, balanced together. So the womb is the center of this world, but then you have the stars. Okay, the stars. And of course, this gives rise to astrology. Astrology is the study of the movement of the stars in order to understand its impact on our world. Okay? Then you have, of course, the crops, right? So in an ideal world, all three are aligned together. By studying the stars, you know when to best plant the crops and when to best have children. And in this world, again, it is the women who are in control. They have the high status in society because they believe that women are direct representatives of the mother goddess who rules the world. Usually in this society, the mother goddess is represented as a bird, okay, a bird. Why? Because if you think about it, if you study all the animals in nature, it's a bird that has dominion over the sky. And if life comes from the sky, it makes sense that the mother goddess must be a bird of some sort. But the mother goddess is also paired with a bowl, okay? A bowl. Why? Because the bowl is a symbol of virility and energy. You cannot get pregnant as a woman by yourself. You need a man to do it for you. Okay? So the bird and the bowl are the two symbols of worship in this world. Now, this world is very strange from our perspective because there's no property. Everything belongs to everyone. There's no hierarchy. Everyone is the same. And there's no such thing as sex by yourself, okay? So sex is actually a community act. So that these rituals called fertility cults, in which they have sex together. In fact, many men will have sex with one woman. And it makes sense because as a woman, you want to have the best DNA. You want to have the best sperm, right? You don't know who's going to have the best sperm, so just have sex with everyone, and whoever has the best sperm will give it to you. Okay? So that's the mother goddess civilization. Then we switch to polytheism. So why did we make the switch? The answer is war. For the first time in human history, as populations increase, there's now struggle for resources. And what's the most important resource in this world? Do you guys know? The most important resource is women, right? Females. Because it's females that give birth. And so with war, we have a new concept called property. In order to get men to fight wars, you have to give them something as a reward, right? So they get to have a woman, a wife. And now this wife belongs to them and only them. So in this world, what happens is that you now have property, hierarchy, and marriage. And the role of the woman decreases and the role of the man increases. Okay? At the same time, what's happening is that these different societies, in order to fight wars, they have a god. Okay? And when they go to war, it's like the gods are going to war. And if you lose the war, what it means is that your god is inferior to their god. So now you have a hierarchy of gods. So to maintain peace, what happens is that if you lose the war, you admit that your god is weaker than their god, and you now must obey their god. Right? And this is what we call the pantheon. So remember, in the Greek pantheon, Zeus is at the top, and you have Apollo, Ares, Aphrodite, okay? Everyone else is a lower god. But before, they were separate gods. And in a series of wars, the people who believe Zeus is the best god won out against the other gods. And as a result, the other gods became Zeus's children. Yes? Do you have a question?
Why does the men are fight for women, but women don't fight for men? Like the women don't fight for the men. So why?
Okay. So the question is, why do men go to war and why don't women go to war? Okay, so that's a really good question. Okay, so let me explain to you very slowly. So in this world, the women are in control, right? So women have all the status. But over time, as populations increase, you have young men who have no families. And these young men are discarded from the societies because of lack of resources. So these young men now have a problem. They need to find wives in order to survive. So these young men start to raid other societies in order to capture women. Okay, do you understand? So in this society, it's never young women who are discarded because they have value to their society. It's always young men who are discarded. And as a result, these young men become like wolves, okay? They become like a wolf pack who then go and pillage other villages. And that's how you start, and that's how you have the origin of war. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so now you have this pantheon of gods, okay, which leads to polytheism. Then we make the switch from polytheism to monotheism. Why? Because now you have a new idea called empire. Specifically, the Roman Empire, and they introduced a new religion called Christianity, which is the first monotheistic religion in the world. There's a lot of debate as to what was the first monotheistic religion. Some people say Zoroastrianism, some people say Judaism. I will show you in this class later on that actually the first religion that was monotheistic is Christianity, okay? So the difference between this society, which is a society based on war, is there's a lot of humans, but humans are still the most precious resource. Therefore, it is not in your best interest to kill everyone. But when you have an empire, like the Roman Empire, you don't have to worry about killing other people. In fact, you can go and destroy entire societies, which is what the Romans did. And you can now, as an empire, impose your reality, your God, on everyone else. And that's how you have monotheism. Does that make sense? All right? So, having explained that, what I want to show you now is how the worldview, our understanding of the world, changes over time. Okay? So, in the Mother Goddess civilization, there are two things about their world that's very different from our world, okay? So the first major difference, and this is really important for you guys to remember, is they understood that mind led to matter. Mind leads to matter. But in our world, we believe that it's matter that led to mind. Okay, do you understand? So in science class, you're taught we have a brain, then the brain, because of synaptic connections, creates the mind. Okay, so it's matter that leads to mind. Even though we're taught this, if you think about it, it actually doesn't make any sense. Because how does our small little brain, how is it able to do so much processing, which is the mind, right? How are we able to imagine? How are we able to dream? It's really confusing for us. And quite honestly, if you talk to the very best neuroscientists in the world, their response will always be, don't ask this question. Okay? It's never like we don't know. It's always like, don't ask this question. Okay? This question is forbidden to ask in neuroscience. But so throughout most of human history, we believe that it was mind that led to matter. That it's the mind that creates the brain in order to understand the world. Okay? That makes a lot more sense than matter leads to mind. Okay? Okay, so that's the first major difference. Throughout most of human history, most societies believe that it was the mind that creates the brain. The second major difference is that this is a metaphorical world. In other words, they spoke using metaphors. They understood the world through metaphors. Today we live in a literal world. Okay, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this. Let's just say that you and I fight. Well, we would say that, okay, what happened was that I became angry, the emotion overwhelmed me, and then I hit him, then he got angry, then he hit me back. Okay, this is a literal interpretation. But back then, the metaphorical understanding was that anger is a god who seized me and who propelled me into the fight. And then anger unleashed the god of vengeance, who fought back by seizing the other person to fight me back, okay? So we believed for most of human history that we were controlled by forces outside our control. Now, today, you may believe that the literal world makes more sense. But if you think about it, from the perspective of human thought, okay? How do you understand the world? How do you interpret what goes on in the world? The metaphorical understanding is actually much more useful. And that's why, and I know this is hard for you guys to understand, back then, they were much more creative than we are today. Okay? And also, the things that they were able to do are beyond our imagination. So for example, we've never really figured out how the Egyptians created the pyramids. Okay? For our explanation is aliens did it. Because their mind is beyond our imagination. Okay, so that shows you the switch. Now, when we go to the polytheistic world, this system still continues, but they add more elements to make it more complex. Okay, so the first element is they believe that we are controlled by gods. We're the playthings of gods. Now, what's really important to understand is that these gods, Zeus, Apollo, Ares, they're no different from mortals. The only difference is they just live forever. Okay? So, for example, if you're a king, what do you like to do? Well, you like to go around and chase young girls around, okay? What does Zeus do all day? What does Apollo do all day? These gods, all they do is go around and chase young girls around. Okay, so there's absolutely no difference. Above the gods are the older gods, fortune, fate. So the belief was that even though these are gods, they're still controlled by forces beyond their understanding like fortune and fate. What mattered in this world was not to be good. What mattered in this world is to be lucky, okay? To be fortunate. Because that showed you that the gods favored you. And the last element, the most important element, is the unwritten and immutable laws of the universe. Okay? So a concept like justice. So think of gravity, how gravity gives structure to the universe, right? Well, back then they believed the same thing, where at the most fundamental level, there were concepts that existed like justice. And if you could have the favor of the gods, and you could be very lucky, but if you did things that were unjust, then eventually you'd be punished for it because you're breaking the structure of the universe. Okay? So this was the polytheistic worldview. Now, when you go to the monotheistic worldview, all this changes because now you have a new concept that never existed in human history before called one true God. And this changes everything, okay? Because before, as you can see, humans thought in a very complex, sophisticated, diverse, imaginative way about the world. But now, with the advent of Christianity, it's only one true God. And as such, you have three new concepts that become dominant in this world. These concepts have existed before, but now they're dominant. The first concept is the idea of truth. Okay? If there's one true God, then there must be one truth to the universe. And so when we move towards the truth, that is good, right? But when we move away from the truth, that is evil. So now you have a new concept called evil that didn't really exist before. Okay? You did good things because in this world, it was to your advantage. Now, in this world, if you defy God, that is evil. Okay? And now with truth and evil, you have a new concept called the individual. Before in this world, what mattered was your family, your community, your society, the people around you. Now, with the advent of one true God, the community, the family doesn't matter. What matters is your loyalty, your faith in the one true God. So you can actually step outside your community and just do what you believe is right, as long as you have faith in the one true God. All right? Okay. So these three concepts, truth, evil, individual, are important for you to remember because they underpin modernity. These three concepts, once they grow to a certain extent, they will create modernity, the world we live in. Okay? Our world is controlled by these three forces. Now, what's important for us to understand is these three concepts are beyond the human intuition. You cannot logically, by yourself, deduce or come up with these three concepts. This world of the monogoddess, it's intuitive. Okay? This polytheistic world is also intuitive, but the Christian world now is counterintuitive. Okay? So as a result, for monotheism to triumph, because it is so counterintuitive, it must now destroy the polytheistic world. Okay? So the Romans spent a lot of time, taking centuries and centuries, to destroy the polytheistic world. But the thing is this: you can never ever kill an idea. The idea, if it is being suppressed, just goes underground. Okay? So remember, here in the Mother God civilization, the main instrument of religious worship are fertility cults run by women. Well, now that war has come and men have taken over from women, what happened is that the woman went underground to create new religious organizations called mystery schools. And mystery schools, what they're trying to do is they're trying to maintain the best knowledge and traditions of the mother goddess civilization. Okay? Especially the fact that we come from the mind. We created the universe through our imagination. Okay? That's the main secret that they're trying to maintain. These mystery schools become extremely popular among the elite because they offer great sex. Okay? The elite join these mystery clubs as sex clubs, basically. Remember, in this civilization, what matters is the womb. So they develop all sorts of like secret sexual techniques to please the woman, to make the woman feel as though she's in harmony with the universe. In this world, the Mother Goddess, sex is a mechanism to communicate with the universe, to discover the secrets of the universe. And so they maintain these rituals in the mystery schools. And the most powerful people will participate in these mystery schools. They're called mystery schools not because they're secret, but because everyone is sworn to secrecy. So if you ever divulge what actually goes on in these mystery schools, you'll be punished by death. Okay? You'll be executed by the members. But with the advent of Christianity, these mystery schools now are a threat to the empire. Okay? Because these mystery schools are where the elite, the local elite, hang out. So now what happens is, now they become secret societies. Okay? That's where they come from. Secret societies are an attempt to maintain the secrets of the universe against the advent of Christianity and empire. And secret societies have been around for a long, long time. You may have heard of certain secret societies like the Knights Templars, Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, okay? They're all very powerful. They're still around. Yes, I understand that. But what I'm saying is there are a lot more secret societies that we do not know about and who've been around for much longer, okay? But they're all trying to maintain the secret of the universe, which is that mind leads to matter. That's the great secret of the universe. And this is something that we've always believed and always known, but with the advent of Christianity, this has become suppressed over time. All right? So any questions before I move on? Okay. So now what I will do is I'm going to explain to you Christianity. And I'll explain to you what these secret societies believe, okay? I've already explained to you where they come from, but now what I will do is explain to you what they actually believe about the universe.